Welcome to Encounter Roleplay. It is Sunday. It is Roleplay Roundup. And how are you doing, Lindy?
I am doing super spiffy, but I will say that some things have changed since the last time we did this. Most notably Twitch. Twitch has changed.
I don't know what you mean, Lindy. What's changed about Twitch?
Oh my gosh. Beside from the fact that I hate it, it looked like the normal Twitch we all knew and loved, and now it looks like Windows XP. You can at me if I'm wrong, chat, but I'm not. So, speaking of XP, we are here to talk about, some RPG stuff, I guess, right?
Yes, that is what we are here to do. Although complaining about this is also something I'm okay with. Why don't we start with some news and updates, since I conveniently have put that as our little header for the segment. And let us begin by congratulating the Indiegogo efforts of Matt Cooley and the team over on Harper's Tale. They raised a phenomenal $22,720 with a total of 576 backers on that project, and it's amazing. A lot of that money will be going, of course, to charity supporting Friends of Children with Cancer, as well as there being books made and distributed to those children. Not to mention, everyone who signed on is probably going to get an awesome copy of that adventure module, which is just full of good stuff.
Full of good stuff. We would also like to congratulate Dawn, who we had a guest as last week, and Kiana, who was also a guest last week, who's Helen back again, is doing great. Just check it out on DM's Guild if you haven't already. It's doing very well. It's an awesome module. But they've also, this past week, released Lulu's Guide to Hollyphonts. I can have words today. And that one was also featured on the DM's Guild newsletter, and it has a playable race, monster stat blocks, and some more Hollyphont lore, which is what I think we all need in our lives.
I think so. Now, everyone knows that Wendy's has released an RPG, but have you all heard the more important, more interesting news? Chuck Tingle has released an RPG. Now, I am super excited about this. Ever since I heard the news that the Tingleverse and RPG, I have been messaging people being like, when are we playing? But you hadn't heard of it, right? You weren't familiar
I
with
had never heard of you messaged me the words Chuck Tingle, and I was like, so I went and I looked it up, and A, I was like, WTF is this? And then B, how have I never heard of this before? Because I love it, I think I love it.
I mean, who couldn't love it? Let's talk about some of these playable characters there are.
Yes, the description of the book alone made me laugh out loud. Apparently you can play 4 playable types: Bigfoot, dinosaur, human, and unicorn. I think I would play dinosaur or unicorn. What would you play, Charlie?
Normally, like, I'm one of those players, I always play humans, but I think I want to be either like a big, hairy Bigfoot or a unicorn.
Yeah.
So anyone not familiar with Chuck Tingle, I should say, is a hugely successful ebook author of these erotic, satirical, gay stories that are just wonderful. Good laugh indeed. One of them is about, I believe, dating a plane, like dating one of those multi-millionaire style jets. Pounded by the Pound is a title I've read somewhere. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at here.
Yep. I don't know how I didn't know about it at all.
That's why I was like, when I messaged you, I was like, Lindy's gonna know about this. This is
gonna know about this. This was something I'm going to have to educate myself on further. The classes also just make me giggle. You can be a bad boy, charmer, sneak, a true buckaroo, or wizard. I think I'd be a true buckaroo.
I was gonna say I want to be a true buckaroo, right? If that's an option.
Why would you not want to be a true buckaroo?
Why would you not? I just realized that we missed something very important on our way through to the Tingleverse, because I was very excited about it. And that is something you mentioned to me before we went live, actually, related to Hell and Back Again and that stuff. So let's go back a second.
Who doesn't get excited about the Tingleverse? I mean, come on.
I want to talk about the Tingleverse.
Just a little premature. It's fine. Anyways, I was mentioning that Power Score RPG's guide to Descent into Avernus is up on his blog, and it should also be up on the GM's Guild very soon as Pay What You Want, which, if you haven't heard of Power Score RPG or his blog, it's very helpful if you're going to be running some of the Wizards of the Coast pre-done modules. He does a breakdown, recommends substitutions. Hell and Back Again is actually one of the recommended alternate starting intros to the campaign on his blog. He does a lot of research into everything. It's very informative, very helpful. You could probably run an adventure on it, and it's also really good to read through it, see if you even want to get the book, because it's very thorough and in-depth. But yeah, check it out. I did, and it's pretty cool.
You were saying that you kind of discovered Power Score through doing the Curse of Strahd campaign, right?
Yeah, when I was terrified and going to DM my first campaign, I was going to run Curse of Strahd because, damn it, every Curse of Strahd campaign I joined up fell apart after session 2, and I really wanted to play it, even if it meant I had to GM it. But I had no idea how to GM it. It was my first time, and so his was one of the super incredibly helpful blogs that I found on how to run Curse of Strahd. It gave a bunch of tips and stuff, and I used it, and then later on he's like, "Do you want a game?" And I was like, yeah. So it's super nice guy, super helpful blog. Check it out. He's got one for pretty much every published Wizards of the Coast book that's out there. So even if there's another adventure you want to run through, check it out. He's got a walkthrough for it.
Check it out, indeed. And coming up in a little bit, or very shortly, I should say, we have Sam from Black Cats Gaming talking about the Spy game and playtesting and running a Kickstarter and all of that exciting stuff. But before we dive into that, we have some other 5e news to go through. And I think we should start with the new Unearthed Arcana.
Yes.
So we had 3 new subclasses, domain type elements come out this week from Dan Dillon and the team. Where do you want to start, Lindy? Because we have a cleric, we have a wizard, and we have a druid.
Let's go alphabetically. Let's start with that cleric.
Great. So with the cleric, we have the new Twilight domain. This is inspired by deities such as the Raven Queen. There are some Fae ones on there. Some interesting features. I don't think it's particularly anything we haven't seen before, but there are some interesting little elements, such as the Eyes of the Night, which allows you to buff your party so that they can see in the dark. And the limitations for the Twilight cleric is they can see endlessly in the dark. There is no 60 feet or 30 feet limit. And that's super cool, especially for low-level adventurers, because, as I said, I like playing humans in an RPG, so I'm always that one person that can't see in the dark when we go into the sewer. We have to find something to light. Everyone's like, you're going to give the game away. And this would enable you not to do that. It lasts for 10 minutes, so there is a limitation to this. But that was something that really stood out to me about this domain. It's an interesting, cool little thing we haven't seen before. It could be an interesting convert into a feat. So if you want to make it into a feat for a variant.
Yeah, I also like the level 6 thing that it gets, the Steps of the Brave, which because basically it's kind of like not afraid of the dark is the whole concept of it, and I'm all about it. I think it's really neat. Braving the darkness. You can get advantage on saving throws against being frightened. You can also use in dim light or darkness, you can use a bonus action to magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed until the end of your next turn. That's pretty cool. Just whoop. You're Batman.
You are the knight.
You are the knight, and I'm about it. I play cleric. I might play this one again soon.
There's enough flavor here that it gives you something to hook into, but it's open. It's not. I found some of the paladin oaths, for example, really locked in. You're a very specific kind of person. You're a really specific kind of character. This I feel is more open. It's going to work well in a gothic setting, and it's going to work really well in a Fae Devils setting as well. And obviously, with Descent into Avernus just coming out, a lot of these I'm thinking are linking into that world a little bit.
I would agree with that. I think they're really leaning into that shtick with their current UAs. So yeah, I think that cleric's super fun.
I think leaning into that stick is why we have a Circle of the Wildfire Druid.
Yes.
Now, I think this is interesting. I think we're looking at the destructive side of nature, that powerful side, the forces that coalesce into things, and they also have the ability to summon an elemental. Instead of a wild form, they use one of those, and they can summon this spirit of fire. I think this is really fun and really interesting, but we spotted a few things that we're a bit on the fence about.
Yeah. It definitely, at moments, speaks to my inner pyromaniac that some of you have witnessed at this point. But their level 10 feature, the Flames of Life, what seems a bit OP to me, I would definitely homebrew a rule around that one, because at level 10, they gain the ability to turn death into flames of vitality. When a small or larger creature that you see dies within 30 feet of you or your wildfire spirit, you can use your reaction to basically give them 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier of healing and bring them back. Up to a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier per day. So at level 10, you're probably going to have about 18 to 20 wisdom. That's 4 to 5 free reses per day as a reaction. That seems a bit much to me. I would probably make it when creature hits 0 hit points rather than dies, because there's a big difference there.
A reaction heal as opposed to a reaction resurrection. Now, when you have to be level 10 to get this. Normally by level 10 you have a resurrection in the party in some form or another. But resurrections are expensive. They're usually your top level spell
not a
slot.
reaction.
They're not a reaction.
Heal. Super cool concept, but not a reaction resurrection.
Oof. Yeah, it's a lot. And you were saying how the wildfire doesn't really mesh with your personal take on druids.
No, it does not. I see the wildfire, it doesn't mesh with me as much. I get the whole rebirth through flames, kind of healing through, because, forests need that. I just feel like it feels more spiritual and less flamey, in my opinion. Like, the concept that they're going for doesn't quite match up with the theme that they put to it. I would tweak it a lot if I was to play this subclass. I'll probably never really try out this subclass because I don't like the thematics behind it as much. But I could see some people being really into it, and the mechanical abilities are very cool. I just don't like the flavor that they put with it.
One thing I did really love is you get to summon this elemental spirit, and the spirit has this effect, which is a teleportation of 30 feet of the creature and as many as willing creatures within, I think it's within 5 or 10 feet of it, and it bamps out, and behind it leaves these flames which do, I think it was 2d6 of damage. I've lost my notes. They were in front of me that I've gone. 2d10, so it's a big that it leaves behind. I love the visuals of that, how dramatic that is. That you run towards this flame, the sun flame of your druid, you cuddle in and then teleport 30 feet away, just leave this gust of fire behind. I think that's a lot of fun. And it's, it's a rework of Misty Step. It's a rework of, those sort of spells. It's not something super new, but it's been shaped, replayed, and I think that's so much fun. This brings us on to the wizard, which I think is the most interesting and original of these things that we're seeing here.
It's a whole new class of magic, and I like it. I really like it. It's all about onomancy. True names. You can get, especially with Descent into Avernus just having been released, oh man, there's so much potential for a hellish or even fiendish or even fey campaign with using creatures and people's true names for things.
Because that's the thing about exorcisms, isn't it? You need to find out what the devil or the demon possessing that person's real name is, and then you call them out, and you're like, I know your name. Bow down and get out. And I think it's really cool, and I think this moves towards a sort of magic that we don't see. We do see in D&D, and we don't. That's the magic of words. We see it in that Arcana is written down, that you use, verbal components. But here we see, like, the words, the names literally have a power, and you have a power over those things. And I think that's really interesting.
Yes, and they've got some cool things as well, like fateful naming. I know it's a level 2, but you get access to the Bane and Bless spells as a wizard, which I think is super cool. Especially Bane. That seems like super wizardly, and I don't know, it just seems very cool to me that wizards finally can get some Bane and some Bless in there, and just help be more group utility.
This reminds me of the group utility that we see in divination wizards, but it's a different flavor of it.
Yes,
and I think there's a lot of plot hooks in this. It's an inbuilt plot hook of you want to go on a quest to find someone's true name. That's giving your DM something to do straight away.
You could even do a cool play on it and have an amnesiac onomancy wizard who's looking to find out their true name because they don't know it anymore.
And I always love like fate and doomings and the idea of, you know, names having consequences. I'm very excited about this. I need to delve a little bit deeper. I don't play a lot of wizards, so I don't instantly understand the scope which a lot of wizard moves could have, but I see this and it's exciting. And I kind of want to play with this. I can almost imagine the flip side of it is a DM taking an onomancy wizard and running with that as a big bad evil guy. And suddenly you're in a world where you protect your name, you protect your identity, and you can play with that real life theme of protecting who you are from unknown, you know, hackers almost. Who can
and they get resonance, which are super cool as well. It's kind of like how warlocks get to pick certain things and sorcerers get to pick certain things off a list. It's the wizard's chance to get to pick and choose how they kind of want to build their subclass. So you've got certain things like absorption. When you cast a spell that deals damage to the named target, you gain temp HP. Or puppetry. The first time the named creature takes damage from the spell, you can knock the creature prone or move it up to 10 feet, either directly towards or away from you. So you can pick 2 of these at level 6, and then you get to pick 2 more at level 10. And there are a good, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So that's 4 total, and it adds a lot of flavor.
It's a lot like the Warlock Invocations, right? It's a
similar. A lot like the Warlock Invocations, yes. Which is, it's pretty cool that the wizard you can really nail down your niche style with this, rather than going, well, I guess this is the closest school, so I'll pick this. Because a lot of times when you get to the different subclasses, like Necromancer, you hit level 10, you're like, oh cool, necrotic resistance. I guess that's that. So this is interesting because you get to really pick and choose what you want. It's gonna be good for those who are really getting to the nitty gritty of the things. And at 14th level, they can, when you cast a spell that deals damage to a creature whose true name you speak as part of the spell, you can cause the spell to deal force or psychic instead of the spell's normal damage. Not many creatures have resistance to force or psychic, so that's a pretty cool way of giving you a level 14 trait.
It really is, and I think all of these subclasses have the ability to be very powerful, and I think they all offer new avenues. So I think all of them have great potential in them. I do think Wildfire is the one that's towing a line on balance, and I think it's just a tweak in the semantics of how it's phrased. I did appreciate that they put in the player tip that temporary HP doesn't stack. It's a rule that a lot of us forget / don't know exists. And I think it's cool when we do get these little reminders. I was thinking about the Wildfire actually, and I was thinking if you've got variant flanking from a low level, that is actually going to be really helpful, that you can just bamf into existence's thing and it's not a concentration spell or anything. So yeah, lots of options. Twilight domain, a lot of flavor. I think that's going to become a staple domain for clerics in much the same way as, you know, you get Light domain, Tempest domain. It's just another flavor. I think it's very easily going to pass into cleric domain. But let's move on. We have a whole heap of stuff to talk about today. Reminder in chat, if you have any questions for RPG Webby Sam, our guest, post those. We will get to them. He is coming up very soon. But first I want to talk about a sponsor that's coming up not next week, but the week after. So let me click this button. On October 14th, we have a one-shot of Entromancy, which is a cyberpunk fantasy RPG game. I am so excited about it. I'm going to be DMing it, and Lindy's going to be playing in it. So we were taking a look through this today before we came on live, and I'm pretty excited about this setting. So this setting takes San Francisco and reworks it a little bit. There's a power source called Ceridium. I think I'm saying that right. And it's got hackers and technomancers, and it's everything you want from cyberpunk, but without it being about working for a corporation or down in the corporation. And it also has all the magic as well in it. It's a really great modern
based off of 5e, but with some simpler stats. So the only stats are strength, agility, will, and personality. So it's kind of like a simplified 5e kind of style. They've got some pretty classic races: dwarf, gnome, human, but then they also added 2 new ones, which is high auric and low auric. And the classes, I think, are actually pretty cool. They've got Night Agent, Revolutionary, Technomancer, Terramancer, and Vanguard. I'm probably going to play a Technomancer. It's kind of my jam. I can't resist hackers.
And this is all based off of a series book by M.S. Farzan, and I think it's very exciting that it's being converted into an RPG. I think we're seeing more and more. But the thing about this is it's designed to be pick up and play, where you can get the book, it's got everything you need in it, and it's easy enough that you can kind of just read through it and then get to playing. You don't need to study, you don't need to go and consult other books. It's ready to go. And this artwork is just gorgeous. I love that it's a little bit neon, but it's a little bit different from your standard Shadowrun artwork, I would say. It's a lot of fun. Sorry, I was just staring at the art. I'm a bit of a sucker for art.
Yeah, the art is pretty fun, pretty cool. I dig it.
So we will be talking more about this over the next 2 weeks as we head towards that one shot. Please do come and check it out. It's from, I think it's from 3 till 6 Eastern Standard Time, so right before Ravnica on a Monday. And it's going to be a lot of fun as Laugh Love Lindy, Susanna Grace, Will Jones, and Banjalop will be joining me to play that game. So, keep an eye out for that. Go and check out the links in chat. We are throwing links to all of the things that we mentioned in chat so that you can go and find out more at your leisure. Alright. What else are we going to talk about? Is that it, or are we on to the main event? I'm so excited about all of these things that I could just sit and talk about just all of them.
I know. We don't want to get stuck on a single topic. It does seem really cool, but I think we're probably about ready to bring in Sam.
Alright, so of course, Sam is the head developer, partner of James over at Black Cats Gaming. They have just kickstarted the Spy game, raising over £30,000 with over 700 backers, which is just amazing. I can't type today. The Spy game, there we go, that's what it's called.
This it's okay.
Is for 5e. It's an action and espionage game. I was one of the playtesters. We had a 2-shot here on the channel. Let's go and talk to Sam about this game. This work of art that has moved from Kickstarter and is heading towards beta testing. Hello, Sam. You're muted, friend.
I am. There's horror stories about backstage noises earlier, so I make sure I mute myself.
Well, welcome to Roleplay Roundup. We're here to talk about your baby, the Spy game, 5e.
We are. How's it going, everyone? All right?
Yeah, it's going good. I
can't type, but spiffy.
Yeah, can't type, but spiffy. I was just thinking, like, you go through all the process of working out, building towards the Kickstarter. You go through all of the Kickstarter, and then things kind of go quiet for a while. You're used to like updates every 3 seconds about the project, pushes, you get the one-shots, but then things go quiet. What happens in the quiet time?
Lots and lots of writing. And editing and layout. I literally just today was finishing up the layout for the beta. So big exclusive news is that will be coming out around the 11th of October. So it's very close. So it has been about 2 months since we ran the Kickstarter, since it closed. It closed early August. But since then, there's a few different little stages that go through that James actually knows more about than I do, because I just kind of burrowed down and like just started writing, kept writing and editing and revising stuff that was already out there anyway with the quick start stuff. But we obviously there's a lot more to the beta than we showed off in the quick start. But for a little while, Kickstarter has to collect your money, so there's all that kind of stuff that they go through with card payments and stuff and all that kind of thing. And then eventually, after a couple of weeks, they give you the cash. So we got the cash. And then, like, we've actually been doing some really super boring stuff, just like, properly figuring out the partnership, getting the bank account figured out, like everything. So, lots of stuff happening, but not really a lot that anyone's going to be interested in. So there's not a lot to really report to backers in updates or to like our Discord server or anything like that. So I've tried to like sneak things out where I can on Twitter with like little photos and layouts or like me at my desk or whatever, but not a lot of news really until now.
Da-da-dum. What about the spy game made you want to start with Kickstarter? How did you get started on Kickstarter for your project?
Sure. So I mean, Kickstarter is recent union stuff aside, is a really good platform to get your idea off the ground. Rather than trying to find angel investors or getting our big bank loan out, it's somewhere that you can essentially get everyone to pledge is a typical term for it, but like really actually like invest in you. And it's basically you say to people, your potential community, your customers, I've got this cool thing that I want to make, that we'd already started making, to be fair. What about you backing it, and we'll give you it when it's done. And thankfully a lot of people did, so we managed to get that started. But Kickstarter's kind of been the go-to place to launch a project like that, and it has been for a number of years. And when I'm in my day job with Modifius Entertainment, doing very similar stuff to what I do outside of work, this is my life now. This is where Chris and Modifius got started as well. Is back in the day when games on Kickstarter was really becoming something. They went for Act on Cthulhu, was launched as a Kickstarter. So I guess copy from what I know as well, in a way.
What did you have to do to prep to like, okay, we're going to do this on Kickstarter? What would you recommend if someone wanted to start on Kickstarter to have done and ready before just...
Yeah, what's your top tips, Sam?
Yeah.
So there's like ideal world, and then there's, I suppose, that kind of, look, I've got an idea and I don't really know how to start it, but I want to get going. The ideal world is to basically almost have the let's say we're making a game, like we're making a tabletop game. Basically, I have the game designed. We've tested it. It's basically ready to go. I need money to then make it happen. I need money for a layout guy, or I need money for printing, or I need money for accessories and stuff, whatever. If you've got it ready to go with cool artwork and loads of graphics that you can show off as well, then you're setting yourself up to succeed. Because obviously, when you back something, it's not like you going into a store and buying a book. It's like you've got to wait for a couple of years maybe to get everything. Especially if things get unlocked, because you're going to have like a few things that are going to come later, like supplements or accessories and stuff. Otherwise, I think you can kind of go to it with more just of an idea of what you want to do. But I think you need to know more or less exactly what you're gonna make. Like you say, it can maybe be broad, like I'm gonna make a tabletop game, or it can be like, well, I want to do the spy genre, and actually, like, you could be even a project manager, basically, and you love playing tabletop games. You know people who can do the job, and basically you're the person just putting all that together. So you could go, I know the team, I know, like, I need money to pay them, and then I need this, that, and the other. So you can go like that too. But the Kickstarters that tend to do well, if we're talking around then the kind of industry as a whole. It's ones that have a professional graphic design look to them. It's ones that are essentially offering you a product from the start. And it's ones that have some really sexy artwork, basically.
Hold on, where's Chuck gone? He was here a second ago.
There you go. This is why Chuck's done well.
Is a big draw.
Yeah.
So, Sam, this actually ties into something that we've been asked by chat, which is Matt asks, for his personal curiosity, why spies and why 5e? And I know we've discussed this a couple of times, but why spies? Why 5e?
I've always been a fan of the spy genre, and like I played a bit of Spycraft back in the day, and it's kind of a poorly represented genre, but it works very similarly to a party of adventurers. Like, you're a team of agents, you have an objective or a mission as opposed to a quest, and then you have lots of cool gear and you can do cool things, and you go out on into a mission area, it's essentially like a dungeon, and then you go and do the thing, right? You fight the bad guys. And I've always loved that kind of thing, and I've always personally gotten on with modern day and sci-fi settings better than I have with fantasy. There are some exceptions, like the big poster behind me, or I tend to like slightly kind of darker and more kind of down to earth fantasy than I do kind of
urban.
Yeah, like kind of rather than like high fantasy and like lots of magic everywhere and elves and stuff. So I've wanted to make that game. We also because I also used to run live role-playing games as well, coming out of theatre background, and then I kind of moved into that first, and then tabletop is actually where I've ended up, rather than kind of like some people might think the progression is through tabletop into like live role-playing. I went a kind of weird way around. And we ran a kind of a one-time live role-playing game. It was a bit sillier, but it was Spy with a big exclamation mark. And it was like, running around the woods, being invincible, shooting bad guys. Like it was a good fun. So 5e, really, we came from it from a kind of commercial point of view, first of all, really, and also from a point of view of me where if I had to design something from scratch, one, I feel a little bit like I was trying to reinvent the wheel, and secondly, it's just harder, So with the SRD, with the open game license and open game content, that gives you a resource immediately to be able to use and adapt and derive a rule set from. And with a fair amount of open game content out there now, if you actually kind of look into it, stuff like Pathfinder, Spycraft originally was open game content too. So there was a whole wealth of resources at my disposal if I was going to develop something from 5e rather than try and come up with something myself. The other aspect to it, like I said, commercially, is that, at 5e, or the name that I contractually cannot say, is the most popular role-playing game in the world. So that's just one barrier to entry gone away, if it's based on that, because so many people know and play that game that I can go, I've got to sell you spies because you're not necessarily going to be into that straight off the bat. You're into tieflings and magic and wizards and stuff, but spies are cool, right? What about that? And you don't have to relearn the rules because you basically know the majority of them, and it's just an easier sell,
Indeed. We had another question from Pope World Build earlier, which is, how do you approach crafting encounters? Now, I know we had some really interesting encounters that maybe not went the way you planned on them going. And the playtest I was involved in, they're still super fun.
Yeah. My honest answer to that question would be badly. I'm not a fantastic encounter designer, I never feel. like drawing maps and figuring out where the traps are going to be and kind of designing cool dungeons. Like I've never felt like I've been very good at that. I'm much more, as Pope might know from the After the Fire stream, much better at kind of getting into NPCs' heads and figuring out their agendas and what they're going to do and kind of more the intriguey kind of stuff. Whereas if I'm like, I don't ever feel like I've really got cool encounter design right. Like, okay, right, so if I have the archers up here and I have the goblin monks coming in from this direction, I have the trap in the middle, it's all going to look awesome. I'm like, there's a room and there's some rocks, and don't touch the rocks, they'll fall. And then like I'm like, oh, okay, great. So Spies, thankfully for me, has been a bit easier because I could take lots of hints from like Metal Gear Solid and like Hitman and stuff, and that was basically my go-to thing when I was just trying to design that like house thing for your playtest, Lindy. It was like, okay, well, if this was a Hitman level, like what would there be? There'd be the entry in through the kitchens and the pantry. There'd be like there's the ballroom at the back, and I like stole a country like house D&D map, and I was just like, okay, cool, this is fine. So yeah, I just steal stuff.
Is your tip just kind of steal from what you like in these spy movies and games?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I do.
I mean, I don't think there's any shame in that, and I think because I don't think I've seen Spies done a whole lot in 5e, that this is gonna feel fresh, it's gonna feel new, and the fact that you half go, wait, this is Mission Impossible, he's suspended from the ceiling, I know how this goes, and then you can kind of play with it and reshape it as a player and as a DM. I think that's a lot of fun. So we had a question from Don.
Add twists.
We had a question from Don, which is, will folks be able to use the spy game to play villains, pulling off schemes against the good guys, or adapt it to other modern action RPG styles? So I know one of your stretch goals was the villains guide, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah. And we didn't get to it, unfortunately. So I think that all depends on like how far, how well the core book does when it comes out, because we're trying to put it into retail and distribution as well. So it won't just be a kind of one and done thing. So if it does well and I have the time and feel like PDF will do well, then yeah, hopefully. I would really love to do that because I'm a big fan of Evil Genius.
Who doesn't want to be a Bond villain?
Right? Yeah. I want a volcano lair and like fighter jets and stuff.
And laser shots.
I think it was kind of like what we were saying with the Ornamency Wizard earlier, is you could just take the classes that you've got in the book and just flip them and just use their skills for bad instead of good, right? Like at base level you could do that. And having played the game, I think there's a lot of work that you've done on the items and the gadgets and things that enable you to do other action tropes. Because you've got a lot of stats for different guns, you've got a lot of stats for different vehicles. How do you do that? How do you manage that?
There's a lot of Wikipedia. I just started Googling stuff that was like Bond gadgets, and then was like, show me every Bond gadget that's ever been in a movie. Like Mission Impossible gadgets, like just anything that I could find, again, from the depths of the internet. So I've done a lot of weird real-world research on like sarin gas and stuff, the really happy topics. Yeah.
Definitely on any government watch lists.
What's the coolest gadget or the coolest item that you've got designed so far, Sam? That we can know about.
I have to get the file up here now, and I
can tell you my favorite one from just the playtest.
Go on.
I never got to use it, but I loved the cyanide cigarette. That just spoke to me. I thought that was
the classic 1930s, 40s cyanide cigarette.
Smoke, and then they're like, and then they, it's great. I love it.
All right.
That just is you, that femme fatale, have a cigarette seduction, and then they just
so me.
So I did put in a cigarette mini rocket launcher as well, because that's in a movie. So I think it's in a Bond movie somewhere. Like ridiculous thing. So James hates it because it's got a kind of fantasy name. But I love it because it was a beautiful nod to the most popular role-playing game in the world, Tarask Armor. So this is literally straight out of the book. So this heavy armor is made from light but strong metal alloys, gives you +3 AC, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, but disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks. It contains an inbuilt point-of-view camera, microphone, body sensors, heartbeat monitor, damage reporting procedures, and a helmet lens heads-up display that can show live maps, medical information, and a data connection to mission control and allies.
So this is like the Iron Man suit, right?
Yeah.
Iron Man.
It's Iron Man. This is Spartans from Halo. It's like all that kind of cool stuff. It's called Tarask Armor, people. That's why I love it. I don't give a shit about the point of view camera bullshit. I'm just like, it's called something stupid.
Gotta love some good naming conventions.
Yeah,
I
right?
approve. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I love about all of these things coming out at the moment. Are like the little references and the little nods and the, we know what we're doing and we're having fun. Because I think it's great when you pick up a book and you know that the people who have made it have had a lot of fun. Because then you're going to have a lot of fun. I think we're past the days of very dry text now.
Yeah, and I always try and do that. I always try and do that. I can't tell you what for, but I was literally writing and editing something at work for the Star Trek line the other day, and I basically wrote a sidebar in which the Romulan student said, "My dog ate my homework." Because it's like they have these pets and selats, I think, which are these kind of like weird bear with horn type thing. But some people keep them as pets. So I was just like, to the instructor, whoever it was, I'm really sorry, but I hadn't fed my salat at the right feeding time, and so it started eating my pad. I was like, you've got to put all that kind of stupid stuff in, right? Otherwise, like, where's the fun?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's kind of like, what was it, The Haunting at House Hill, like, where people go and they go and find all of the ghosts. I think you get to a point sometimes in the RPG you go through and you see if you can find all of the Easter eggs and all of the nods. And it's cool when you get an in-joke. I'm one of these people, I'm like Captain America, I never get any references to anything. So I always like feel it deep inside when I'm like, I know that one, I get this reference.
Like,
that's
video games have done them for so long, and I think like kind of RPGs are almost kind of catching up a little bit, maybe. Right? But they're also like in jokes that you just don't even get. Like if anyone who would not have worked on something will not get, like the initials for the layout designer for Trek are somewhere in an LCARS thing somewhere. There's like a weird like line art piece for an object that was out of some film somewhere. And so stuff like that. I managed to get my home group's ship name into one of the kind of pages as like one of the kind of LCARS diagrams.
Background.
I was just like, I've got to do this.
Really cool. Yeah. It just makes me think of Monty Cook's cube for Invisible Sun, how every part of that is a piece of the puzzle, and the meta games that go on. And I think that's so much fun. If anyone, by the way, has any more questions, please do pop them in chat. We only have about 10 minutes left of the show today, but we will try and get to them. And I will also keep an eye on YouTube comments if you're watching over on YouTube, and try and forward those on to Sam. Go and check Sam out at RPG Webby, and also at Follow Black Cats, which is the official Black Cats Gaming Twitter. So go and check those out. So yeah, Sam, is there anything you want to talk about just generally about RPG? Anything that's got you excited lately?
Oh man, anything that's got me excited lately? I don't know. I feel like I've been kind of like
besides Chuck Tingle.
Besides Chuck Tingle, like closeted away. Like, all right. So Charlie says like she. Oh no, no, Lindy, you'd had no idea about Chuck Tingle right before.
I had not, and then I found out, and I was like, how did I not know this?
Right. So I heard about this. But even before there was an RPG coming out, I think, at work, and a colleague of mine who sits right near me was just like, oh, this is about Chuck Tingle. And I was like, what? Sorry, who? He was like, what, you don't know about Chuck Tingle? And just like, here was the Amazon list. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? It was awful. And then one day, just got up from the seat and was just like, Chuck Tingle RPG. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I heard about Chuck Tingle a long time ago. It was on a YouTube video. Two YouTubers just happened to be talking about, they'd come across it and they were just laughing between them. And I was like, this can't be serious. This seems like a made up thing. No, they are 100% real books. They 100% make a lot of real money. And now there's an RPG. And I messaged Will the second I saw that RPG and I was like, can we play this? Can we do this on ERP? Is this a thing we can do? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, the D&D sex icon doesn't know what I'm talking about.
That's
fine. So Sam, question: when is beta test out? When can we play? What can we do right now to get our hands on Spy Game?
So right now, if you weren't a Kickstarter backer, not a lot. But we are when we're setting up our pledge manager. We are putting together some late pledge stuff, so you can then come in late. You can get access to the different pledges that we had on the main Kickstarter page. The beta is coming out on the 11th of October, roughly thereabouts. I've just got a little bit more proofing to do just to double check things, and then it should be away with you. I've been learning as a trial by fire how to use InDesign to lay a book out, and it's
I'm sorry.
No, it's actually like the basics seem all right.
It's all right. It's just the trial by fire for InDesign. I did not have a fun time learning InDesign initially.
Look, it's black and white, 2 columns. There are some heading styles. I'm done. Like, that was it. This is not, folks. This is basic. I'm basic. All right.
But I do believe if you wanted to check out the game right now, you still have the quick start up, right? Over on, is it on
Oh, we totally do. Yes, so it is on drive-through, drivethroughrpg.com.net, one of the two.
I got the link. I'll put it in the chat.
Nice.
Got that link. All right, we have a question from Jonathan Fry, which is connected to your other streaming businesses. So the question is, who would win a fight? In a fight, Sir Gormund Peake or Sir Jaime Lannister while he still had both hands?
Jaime Lannister.
No question.
Simple. Yeah.
Jaime Lannister. So, for anyone who doesn't know, you run a Game of Thrones game on a Thursday night.
You?
For me. Yeah.
Just for you.
That's where I am. Yeah, it's my personal game. I have Sam chained to a desk every Thursday. Like, you will run a game for me. But no, we play on a Thursday night over on RPG Webby. We are back this week, and it's the aftermath of a big battle, right?
Yeah. So it's After the Fire. It's a Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire tabletop campaign. It's using the system that Green Ronin developed for the setting, and it's one of my favorite tabletop games. It's not perfect. The system, it can get a bit mathy, which isn't always great on stream or isn't necessarily good for me. But I do really enjoy it because I think they really capture even the mechanics, kind of what things are about in the Game of Thrones. So our game is set 100 years before the TV series or the books, just after the Blackfire Rebellion, and it is my own personal way of working through Brexit, because it's all about it is. Don't laugh. I've told you this many times.
I know.
Because it's all about xenophobia and Ramonas and people who lost the rebellion and are moaning about it, and people who won the rebellion and are just shut up, and all awful politicians at the end of the day is Game of Thrones. So it's me working through it.
So do go and check out that VOD, but where you should be on a Thursday night at 9 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. Eastern is here, because this week and next week, Lindy is taking over DMing on Halloween Metropolis. Do you want to talk about that, Lindy?
Yes, so unfortunately our dear Hollowtail is not in town for the next 2 weeks, so I offered to step up to the plate to save my favorite NPC. I mean, to DM the group. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to take place at the same time in the same world as the current story adventure, so there's no jumping. Everyone's just going to be playing different characters. If you've been keeping up with the campaign, you know that there's a bit of a gang war going on that we may or may not have escalated greatly in the last episode. So they're going to be, slight spoiler, they're going to be members of the gang that we want to support in post-apocalyptic New Victorian London, rescuing Robbie Carr, best NPC. And yeah, it's going to be real interesting. They're going to be the friends and family, the beloved, close to the people who were tragically lost that day, and they're out for vengeance. So it's a super fun, kind of lethal system. I'm really intrigued to see how it goes, and I'm really hoping that they manage to save the NPC. But who knows? We'll see what happens. I'm very excited about it, and yeah, I have all the power. It's been a while since I've DM'd. It'll be my first time DMing the system, too, so I'm excited.
And I think it's a perfect point to jump in if you haven't caught the series so far. And House of Metropolis is a great steampunky, Victorian, dark, horror-ish type system. Is that fair, Lindsay? That's fair?
Yeah, it's very kind of dark, gothic, Victorian, steampunky setting. It's set in the 1920s, but it's got a very Victorian feel to it. But you've got certain 1920s amenities, like Tesla coils and that kind of thing. It's super duper fun, and if you are following what's been going on, this will just fill in the gaps of knowledge of what's going on in the background while the main group runs around and does their thing. So, and it's going to affect the world of the game.
A super fun way for if your group's DM is unavailable for a little while and you still want to play, have the DM work with one of the players and you can flesh out the world a little bit and keep things going and still, have the storyline intact and not tampered with too much, but you get to play in your world and you get to flesh and keep your game rolling. So that's something that I think is super cool. While we're on the subject of coming up, before we wrap up today, I do want to announce that we have that meat grinder coming up on the 27th of October, DM'd by RPG, that side, RPG Webby. Sam, what's the plan? Do we have a plan?
Yeah, so we for After the Fire, we did a charity tournament. So knights riding against each other, lances breaking, and people falling off horses and stuff. It was great. So Charlie and I chatted about doing one, but we're going to base it on D&D. So we're going to use some more. We found a post again, some more open game content type stuff that was about jousts and code tournaments using D&D rules. So we'll be inviting people to submit their characters. I'd love to see some characters you are currently playing. We'll set a level though, so if you're below or above that, just knock your class up or down there to make it all work. So everyone's on the same level. What I am going to say is that the mounts themselves don't matter. So you can ride in on a wyvern or some shit. It doesn't matter. But basically you're going to have a go at each other. So there'll be lances. There'll be how you're riding in your saddle. There'll be little tactics and that kind of stuff. And we'll have a proper knockout Knight's Tale style tournament because we had loads of fun with our one. And so this one should be awesome too.
And this month we are raising money for cancer charities. We're going to pick, I think, 2 charities, and I will announce which charities those will be. But yes, big fundraiser for those charities this month. The details will all be over on Discord in the monthly Meat Grinder channel. That's where you can sign up. That's where you'll get a ton more information. So if you're not already in our Discord, go and click that button and join, because we will be posting all of the details there. And you got to put your name in the hat if you want to be part of it. I think we have a limit of 8 players, right, Sam?
So yeah, we're looking at 8 because that gives us a classic quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals style knockout. So that's the plan. But bring us pretty D&D characters, and then we'll charge them each other. It'll be great.
Awesome. And I think that is about it for announcements of coming up. Our next episode will be on October 20th Unfortunately, I will not be here. I will be in London at a D&D and mental health event over at Bad Moon Cafe. Very excited to go and be there, and I'm on a panel with some people from Wild Anvil, and yeah, it's going to be a really good time on that Sunday. But Lindy, you're going to be here.
Yes, I will be here with the famous D&D 6 icon himself, Will Jones, who I will curse in chat. Because I care. Because I care, Will. Yeah, so it's going to be Will and I as hosts for the next episode, and we will have announcements for what's going to be going on with that in the near future, because Will and I haven't talked yet.
No, they haven't. And also, we do have another one-shot coming up near the end of the month, and I have a feeling that's going to be announced then. So definitely worth tuning in and seeing what Lindy and Will have found on the internet to do with RPG to talk about, in addition to all of our announcements here on Encounter Roleplay. Thank you so much, Sam, for being here today. Is there anything you'd like to plug that we haven't mentioned already?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just find me around the internet at RPG Webby, and follow Black Cats as well. Check us out on the Thursdays if you can, or the VODs for After the Fire. Otherwise, check out Black Cats and the Spy Game. Google them, you'll find us. And yeah, have a little look out for the beta.
Thank you so much. Make sure you check out Lindy DMing on Hallowed Metropolis. She is, of course, back before then on Tentacle Tuesdays, which is coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's our Call of Cthulhu game. But we here at Encounter Roleplay are back on Monday. Yes, the classic. We are back on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern with Ravnica Under Fire. So I shall leave you with that trailer, and we will see you all very soon. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you next time.
My name is Jace Bellerin. I am the Living Guild Pact. What makes your plane more worthy than any other?
Ravnica can never be free until we stand over the buried body of the Guild Pact.
In the name of Mat Celestia, I will shine a light that gives new life to the Conclave and brings the truth out of darkness.
Ravnica and its people deserve peace, and I aim to bring it to them, regardless of what my new patron may want.
My life is the sword that will strike down the tyranny that tries to lay shadow over my people.
Mortality is trivial. Once I'm deathless, I will restore